Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, a show about writing and publishing with your host, J.F. Garrard.
Welcome to another episode of the Artsy Raven with Christy Climenhage. Christy was born in southern Ontario, Canada, and currently lives in a forest north of Ottawa. In between, she has lived on 4 continents. She holds a PhD from Cambridge University in Political and Social Sciences and a master's degree from the Norman Paterson School of International Affairs at Carleton University and the College of Europe. She loves writing science fiction that pushes the boundaries of our current society, politics, and technology. When she is not writing, you can find her walking her dogs, hiking, or cross-country skiing. So welcome, Christy.
Hi, thank you.
Now tell me, you have a PhD in politics
Yeah.
and international affairs. So how did this translate into writing science fiction?
Yeah, well, basically, I've always wanted to write fiction. My career meandered its way into academics and public service and graduate studies. And I've more recently found my way back to my first love, which really is reading. And when it comes to science fiction and fantasy, that was just always a comfort read for me growing up. And it's something that I've always gone back to as an adult, as a reader.
Okay, so you have a book out right now. Um, can you tell us a little bit about the Midnight Project, like, and what inspired it?
Sure. So the Midnight Project is it's a near future science fiction thriller. And it's about 2 genetic engineers who are asked by a mysterious billionaire uh, to alter humans to live in the ocean depths to escape an ecological catastrophe on land. So the I mean, the inspiration for this really this story just appeared on the margins of my brain and rattled around there for about 10 years. So I couldn't say exactly what one thing sparked it. But I would say that a lot of it comes from uh, where the more dystopian elements of our current life, and then just pushed out to an extreme.
Okay. So, oh gosh, I don't want to give too much away from the book. I was gonna ask you, like, what's your favorite scene from it? But for people that haven't read it, it might not be a good thing to ask. But okay, maybe how about a concept? Like, is there an idea in the book that you really like?
Sure. Well, like I love for me, what I keep coming back to with this book is just the relationships between the two and then the 3 main characters. And I really just love the idea that there's this calamity going on around them out in the world. And yet they have this nice, safe little laboratory that they just keep getting up and going to work in every day and drinking their coffee and watching the news and the news kind of are these big 3-dimensional headlines that kind of chase them around the room, but they have this safe space even in the midst of this really troubling world. And so for me, what I really love about the book is that is the relationships that kind of ground all the more dystopian elements, if you will.
Now, tell me, how do you go about writing this book? Like, did you write a little bit every day? Assume you're pretty busy during the day too, so.
Yeah, well, it it started, I had been kind of rewriting the first chapter whenever I felt inspired, which I think is a recipe for not ever finishing anything. And so I finally, and it was in the depths of the pandemic, and I finally just went, are you going to finish and publish your novel? You've always said you would, like, are you going to do this? And so once I figured that out, I started getting up early, uh, ugly side of 6, and I would write for an hour every morning. And I set myself a word count. It was very transactional. I set myself a word count every week and just said, okay, you're going to do 5,000 words a week. If you can get 1,000 words done in the morning before work, because I never wrote after 7:30 in the morning.
Mm.
Um, and so if I could get it done, I could have my weekends free. If not, I'd find some time on the weekend to kind of catch up. Uh, but I set myself a word count for the first draft and just focused whenever I found myself a little bit um, getting editorial or getting into self-doubt, I just went, nope. The point of this exercise is to get the words on the page and um, not to get good words on the page. So we're just going to celebrate the act of getting it done. And so I did the first draft and I sent it to beta readers and I got great feedback back. Great in the sense of this part doesn't make sense and what's this about? And I really like this bit, do more of this. And so I wrote it again. And then I sent it to my friend who's an editor for more feedback. And I wrote it again. And then I started querying it with agents. And I sent out about like 20 queries in my first batch. And I waited a few months and I got back all form rejections. So I read it over and I was like, is it as good? Like if you were publishing it tomorrow,
Hmm.
would you, is this the version you would want to see out in the world? And I had to be honest. I was like, no, I think I would like it to be a bit different. So I wrote it again. So I rewrote it again. And then I did one last pass and that's the version that sort of propelled me into like a publishing deal and an agent and the good stuff. And then I rewrote it again with an editor.
Hmm.
Although that was probably no, that one was pretty big too. Yeah, I did a lot of rewriting over. I think it took 3 years, more or less. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, so, I mean, are you going to continue writing in science fiction, or are you going to try some another genre, do you think? Or is there a sequel to this?
Well, definitely I'll continue writing in science fiction and fantasy. And or speculative fiction. I'm not exactly sure what the distinction between speculative fiction and science fiction and more science fiction fantasy is, but uh, yes, the short answer is yes. I'm writing more things. I have two projects on the go right now. One is in the same universe as the Midnight Project, um, with few of the characters, and we'll see kind of where it lands. And then another one is just I have to admit I got a little stressed about 100 days ago, and there was just a lot going on in the world, and so the idea of spending time writing fiction that was very dystopian
Mm,
about
yes.
lots of things that could go wrong in the world. I'll be honest, I felt like that like reality was kind of gazumping my imagination for a while. I was like, I can't really keep up with this. So I'm also writing just a straight up Middle Ages fantasy just for fun. And so
Okay.
we'll see which sort of where they land. But yeah, there's lots more writing. Lots more writing.
Now you mentioned facing a lot of rejection, so how did you handle it when you got such a thing?
Wow. Rejection is fascinating because you can look at it really objectively and you can think, oh, well, okay, I know people that have queried 100 or 200 agents. I know people that are successful on their fourth or fifth book. It's okay. It's okay to get a rejection. And yet what I found in the day to day was that each rejection was individually devastating. And you can't help it. Like you can't
Yeah.
logic your way out of it. It just comes in and sits down inside your chest like it really is sort of this very physical, cultural, awful thing. But at the same time, I just for pragmatically, my goal was not my my goal was to finish something, right? So a rejection was just a door closing. It wasn't really a reflection on the quality of my work. It was just a path that I wasn't going to be taking with
Mhm.
the book. So I sort of tried to console myself with that. But I will say that even after I had received some positive feedback and some success, and um, people that wanted to buy my book and back me and that sort of thing, I still found myself like, how do I put this? I found myself wanting like not having that inner confidence in my words anymore.
Mhm.
Like the rejection had kind of taken up residence in the back of my head for a bit, and it's going to take a little while to get it out.
Mhm.
And this is where when people are querying agents, I think that you like or whatever sort of submissions process you're doing, you do kind of have to be careful to make sure that it's a person that you want to work with or make sure that it's a publication you want to work with because that rejection, if you get one, will still cost you. It's not costless to just go, oh, it's fine. I sent out 10 and we'll see what happens. I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. How do you deal with rejection?
Oh gosh, I get rejected a lot. I view it from a business perspective. Like I just think, okay,
Mm,
they didn't think it was going to sell. I mean, a lot of it, because I'm a publisher as well. Although for me, I guess it's for the art because I know the books when I take them, they're not really gonna sell. I mean, one of my imprint is like niche Asian Canadian literature. I mean, let's be honest here, it's not like a general public thing, so it's a very niche area. Or I do very quirky speculative fiction. It's not for everybody, and that's fine. But if I'm out there and I want to make lots of money, then that's a different story. Like I would want to
mm,
pick like commercial fiction, right? Stuff you could, I don't know, sell at Costco and stuff like, you know what I mean? Like general people,
yeah.
right? And science fiction is very niche as well, right? Like a certain type of audience. I mean, some of it has gone mainstream, like, they make movies and stuff like that, but also the people that watch the movies might not necessarily read the book anyways, so
Well, and I freely admit when I wrote this, I wrote it literally in the dark,
mhm.
right? Like I got up in the morning, I drank a coffee, I sat down, the sun was not up. I did not have a specific reader and marketing plan in mind. I was not motivating myself by saying, we're going to sell 1 million copies or we're going to
Yeah.
get into Costco and that'll make everything great. So yeah, like I mean, I love the Canadian spec fic
Yeah.
market, if you will, because it is quirky and it is kind of niche. Like you can find really unexpected things in it.
Yeah, I think after a while also as a writer, you're not surprised by too much anymore, so it's always really
Mm.
lovely when you read a story and you're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't think of that one." So, okay. Now, do you have any writing advice for people starting to write? Like, what should they focus on, or what worked for you and what didn't? I know it's a very personal thing,
Yeah.
though.
I mean, and I hesitate because I'm very early in my publishing journey, right? So as far as like giving people advice, I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't take mine. But the one thing that really worked for me is just focusing on focusing on the words and just like get the words down. And like this is a very like anyone who's an established writer and within the business already knows this. But for people that are sort of trying to break in, it's like just sitting down and getting the words down is the first piece, and then sitting down and rewriting the words until they're good, and then exposing them to feedback and criticism and adulation. Who knows? That's all part of the process. And for me, the kind of revelation was that compared to other areas of work, like if you don't write it, it doesn't get written. It will never exist.
I know it's like the old Nike slogan, just do it.
Right? It
Yeah.
it really truly is. And the the piece that I am becoming much more aware of too as I'm developing my own craft is that um like the it's like a sport. You know, if you do it over and over and over again and you're mindful about it and you're mindful about seeking feedback on it as well, it'll improve and you'll get happier with it, right? Like you'll be able to achieve things you want to achieve, you know.
Oh yes, the feedback part is important. Like I've been part of writing groups where pe writers have left because they were upset with feedback. They couldn't take it. So
Mm.
you have to develop sort of a thick skin as well. Like when people are giving you critique, it's not because they don't like you, but they're actually trying to help you. I know that sounds weird, but like, you take their critique and you don't have to listen to them. Some you can listen to, some you can't. You don't have to, but they're really trying to help you, or else they wouldn't have taken the time to tell you what's wrong with the words, right? So,
Absolutely. And I always try to approach it with like that first moment of like gratitude. Thank you for reading my book.
mhm.
Oh, you didn't like this or you think I should change it this way. It's like, well, thank you for reading my book. You know, if someone reads 300 pages, like that's a lot of attention and time they've given you.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So if they then turn around and say, "Oh, I think your plotting's a little weak here," or "This character kind of fell flat for me," or my personal favorite, "I love this side character. Can she do more?" And so these are things like, yeah, absolutely. I will say about feedback, one thing that I've noticed is that if a person, and this is such a visceral thing, it goes back to rejection. If a person couches their feedback in just the right way, you can take it all on board. Like if they start by complimenting something or describing something in a way where you think, "Oh yeah, you really got what I was trying to do." And then they say, "Well, for you to really achieve this, which I think you're trying to do, you might want to do X, Y, and Z." And at that point, if you're on board, like if the trust is established with your reviewer, you may find yourself like running to the keyboard to rewrite the whole thing in this big amount of work. Whereas if someone offers feedback and you don't have the level of trust, or you're like, "Oh, you didn't understand what I was trying to do." It's much easier, even on a little thing, right? A little change to go, "No, I like mine better."
Hi, Chrissy. You're going to do a bit of a reading for us. Can you give us a little bit of context before you start reading?
Sure. So this reading, it's so the book focuses on Cedric and Reina, who are two genetic engineers who run a reproductive assistance business. And they've been asked by a billionaire named Burton Sykes to engineer humans to live in the ocean depths to avoid catastrophe on land. They're trying to decide whether to do the project um, when Cedric is attacked by hoppers. Okay, hoppers are a genetically engineered predator that was released into the wild. Um, and in this scene, Reina has patched him up. They're back at the lab, and she's trying to calm him down. And this is a conversation they're having about the project. So, the hoppers were notoriously hard to kill, harder to catch, and even the military admitted they hadn't fixed the problem, though it was mostly the local Ministry of Natural Resources office that dealt with outbreaks. No one knew exactly where they came from. Probably the military-industrial complex, because no one got sued. Nobody went bankrupt, and the Hoppers' origin story was hushed up. We thought they might have been created when someone tried to make a super soldier and mixed elements of the genes of a predator and a frog into humans. No one knew the exact mix, but the result was an unhappy blend of very fast human with exaggerated predator instincts. At some point in the project, there was an escape, and they procreated unexpectedly, finding a niche in the urban ecosystem. Or maybe they were set free on purpose for political reasons, and then proved hardier in the wild than expected. It was a mystery. We drank in silence as I struggled to find something comforting to say. "Well, SETI," I finally said, throwing out a gloomy joke. What do you expect? We're living in the pre-apocalypse. Nobody gets out of this alive. But his face wasn't just crestfallen or disappointed in me. It was as if something fell into focus. I saw in his face something new and bleaker. It was my fault, but I didn't know how to take it back. We sat in silence for a long time, and I brought him another coffee. He cleared his throat. I've been thinking about this even before today, he said. Raina, this study, this thing we're working on, it isn't only dangerous because of the science. It's dangerous because of them. You know, the money, the business owners. They aren't really billionaires. They're trillionaires. Powerful, careless sociopaths. More money than sense. I think the media likes the hard B sound. B for bold, B for brash, B for big, B for brave. Using a tr sound makes them shinier, sweet sounding, more civilized maybe. Trifling, trellis, tryst, trying. There's no good TR words to shape them into the heroes they think they embody. No boom. But they're unstoppable, not governed by countries, the United Nations, not even by their own common sense. I nodded, afraid to interrupt. Once they get hold of an idea, they don't stop. They don't change their minds just because they get good advice or get told no. They don't stop, Raina. I didn't know how to respond, so I just sat quietly, watching his hands tremble around the coffee cup. He took a deep breath. I think we have to take the job, Raina. I don't think we have any choice. It's bigger than just Sykes or Tolliver Simpson. If we turn it down, someone else will say yes, at least to the money. And they might botch it horribly, like worse than us. Well, worse than us, have some faith, I joked, but he plowed on. Someone's going to try to do this, Raina. It's dangerous and could cause a lot of damage if it goes wrong. This is the sort of thing that could make the Hoppers look like cute toddlers by comparison. We can't leave this to someone else. We can't afford to have someone worse than us try to do it. There's a slim chance of success, but it's higher if we're involved. And we'll be able to keep control and pull the plug if we need to. He looked out the window, his gaze far away. The Hoppers are like a genie that can't be put back in its bottle. We need to keep a firm grip on the bottle. We let Sykes know that day that we were interested in pitching a project based on the feasibility study. Within an hour, we received a reply instructing us to come to his Caribbean enclave to present our plans and finalize the contract. Cedric, still shaken, went up to the roof and stared out at the ocean for a long time, dark thoughts roiling. I joined him, and we let the landscape wash over us, gazing at the harbor and coastline, and then out over the urban skyline to the foothills. Copters and drones buzzed over the city. I didn't stay with him long. I went back inside and planted myself in the computer room and got started on the presentation. It was going to be a doozy.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join us on the show.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
For more upcoming episodes of the Artsy Raven about writing and publishing, visit us at jfgarrard.com/arpodcast. A reminder to Patreon subscribers that there is bonus content available for every episode on the Patreon website. If you enjoyed the show, you can show your appreciation by buying us some digital coffee. The Artsy Raven is produced by J.F. Garrard. The voice in the show's introduction is Chris Gorman, and music is by Tim Moore. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe.